How many of you feel like there's never enough time in the day? How many of you wake up with big dreams, big goals, and big plans, only to find yourselves at the end of the day wondering where the hours went? You're not alone. Time is the great equalizer. Every single one of us has 24 hours in a day, 1,440 minutes, 86400 seconds. But here's the question: what are you doing with yours? Let me tell you something right now. Time is not just a resource, it's your life. Every second you spend is a piece of your existence you'll never get back. And yet so many of us give our time away like it's worthless. We let distraction steal it. We let procrastination waste it. We let other people's agendas dictate it. But today, that stops. Today, you take back your time. You see, most people live in reaction mode. They wake up, check their phones, and let the world dictate their day. Emails, notifications, meetings, errands. It's like they're on a treadmill, running faster and faster, but going nowhere. And at the end of it all, they're exhausted, frustrated, and unfulfilled. But not you. Not anymore. Taking back your time starts with one decision. You must decide that your time is your most valuable asset. It's not money, it's not stuff, it's time. Because when you have time, you can create anything. You can build the business, write the book, strengthen the relationship, or master the skill. But when you lose time, you lose opportunity, you lose momentum, you lose life. So how do you take it back? First, you need to get crystal clear on what matters most. What's your mission? What's your purpose? What's the one thing that if you accomplished it would change everything? When you know that, you can start to prioritize like a warrior. You can start to say no to the things that don't matter and hell yes to the things that do. Second, you need to ruthlessly eliminate distractions. Let's be real. Your phone is not your friend. Social media is not your friend. The 24-hour news cycle is not your friend. These things are designed to hijack your attention to keep you scrolling, clicking, and consuming. Well, you're not a consumer, you're a creator. So turn off the notifications, close the apps, and reclaim your focus. Third, you need to master the art of presence right here, right now. This moment is all you have. You can't change the past and you can't control the future, but you can choose how you show up today. When you're with your family, be with your family. When you're working, work with intensity and passion. When you're resting, rest fully. Stop multitasking, stop half living, and start being fully alive in every moment. And finally, you need to remember this. You are the CEO of your life. You are in charge. No one else is going to protect your time for you. No one else is going to fight for your dreams. It's on you. It's your responsibility, and it's your privilege. So I'm asking you today, what would happen if you took back your time? What would happen if you stopped living on autopilot and started living with intention? What would happen if you decided that every minute of your life was going to count? The truth is, you have the power to change everything. You have the power to design your days, to create a life of meaning, impact, and joy. But it starts with a decision. It starts with you saying, enough is enough. My time is mine and I'm taking it back. So what are you waiting for? The clock is ticking. The world needs your gifts. Your dreams are calling. Take back your time and go make your life a masterpiece. Time is the one resource that once spent can never be reclaimed. It's the great equalizer. Everyone, regardless of wealth, status, or power, has the same 24 hours in a day. Yet how we choose to use those hours determines the quality of our lives, the depth of our relationships, and the height of our achievements. The first step to taking back your time is to decide unequivocally that your time is your most valuable asset. This decision is not just a mental acknowledgement. It's a fundamental shift in how you view and interact with the world. It's about recognizing that time is not just a commodity, it's the very fabric of your existence. When you decide that your time is your most valuable asset, you begin to treat it with the respect and reverence it deserves. You start to see time as the foundation upon which everything else is built. Money can be earned, lost, and earned again. Relationships can be repaired, rebuilt, and rekindled. But time, once it's gone forever. This realization is both sobering and empowering. It forces you to confront the reality that every moment you waste is a moment you'll never get back, And conversely, every moment you invest wisely is a step toward creating the life you truly desire. This decision requires a deep level of self-awareness. You must ask yourself, what do I truly value? What are my priorities? What kind of life do I want to lead? These questions are not always easy to answer, but they are essential. Without clarity on what matters most, you'll inevitably fall into the trap of living someone else's agenda. You'll find yourself saying yes to things that don't align with your goals simply because you haven't taken the time to define what those goals are. But when you know what you value, you can start to make decisions that reflect those values. You can begin to allocate your time in a way that moves you closer to your vision rather than further away from it. One of the most powerful ways to honor your time is to set boundaries. This means learning to say no, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something that does. It's a zero-sum game. If you say yes to a meaningless meeting, you're saying no to an hour you could have spent with your family, working on your passion project, or simply recharging your energy. Setting boundaries is not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that your time is finite and choosing to spend it on what truly matters. Another critical aspect of valuing your time is understanding the difference between being busy and being productive. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to fall into the trap of equating busyness with success. We fill our calendars with back-to-back meetings, endless to-do lists, and constant activity, believing that this is the path to achievement. But the truth is, being busy is not the same as being effective. In fact, busyness is often a form of procrastination, a way to avoid doing the hard, important work that actually moves the needle. When you decide that your time is your most valuable asset, you start to focus on results, not activity. You begin to ask yourself, is this task moving me closer to my goals? Is this meeting essential? Is this distraction worth my time? This shift in mindset also requires you to take responsibility for how you spend your time. It's easy to blame external factors, your job, your family, your circumstances, for why you don't have enough time. But the reality is, you have more control than you think. You may not be able to control every demand on your time, but you can control how you respond to those demands. You can choose to delegate tasks that don't require your personal attention. You can choose to streamline your processes and eliminate inefficiencies. You can choose to wake up an hour earlier or go to bed an hour later to create more time for what matters. The point is, when you decide that your time is your most valuable asset, you stop playing the victim and start taking ownership. Valuing your time also means being mindful of how you invest it in relationships. Time is the ultimate expression of love and care. When you give someone your time, you're giving them a piece of your life. This is why spending quality time with loved ones is so important. It's not just about being physically present, it's about being emotionally and mentally engaged. It's about putting away your phone, turning off the TV, and truly connecting. When you decide that your time is your most valuable asset, you start to prioritize these moments of connection. You realize that no amount of money or success can replace the joy and fulfillment that comes from meaningful relationships. Finally, deciding that your time is your most valuable asset requires you to embrace the concept of opportunity cost. Every choice you make comes with a trade-off. When you choose to spend an hour scrolling through social media, you're choosing not to spend that hour reading a book, exercising, or working on a side hustle. When you choose to stay in a job that drains your energy, you're choosing not to pursue a career that excites and fulfills you. Understanding opportunity costs forces you to think critically about how you allocate your time. It pushes you to ask, is this the best use of my time right now? What am I giving up by choosing this? This decision also extends to how you approach your long-term goals. When you value your time, you start to think in terms of compounding returns. You understand that small, consistent actions taken over time can lead to massive results. You stop looking for quick fixes and instant gratification and instead focus on building habits and systems that will serve you in the long run, whether it's investing in your health, your education, or your career, you recognize that the time you put in today will pay dividends in the future. In a world that constantly demands your attention, deciding that your time is your most valuable asset is a radical act of self-empowerment. It's a declaration that you will no longer allow external forces to dictate how you live your life. It's a commitment to living with purpose, intention, and focus. And while this decision may require you to make difficult choices and face uncomfortable truths, the rewards are immeasurable. When you truly value your time, you unlock the potential to create a life of meaning, impact, and fulfillment. This decision is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. It requires constant vigilance and a willingness to course correct when you veer off track. But with each small choice, each moment of intentionality, you reinforce the belief that your time is precious. And as you do, you'll find that you have more than enough time to achieve your goals, nurture your relationships, and live a life that feels rich and meaningful. So the question is, are you ready to make that decision? Are you ready to stop treating time as an afterthought and start treating it as the foundation of your life? Are you ready to take back control and create a future that aligns with your deepest values and aspirations? The choice is yours. And the time to decide is now. In a world that is constantly vying for your attention, distractions are everywhere. They come in the form of notifications, emails, social media, endless to-do lists, and even the well-meaning demands of others. These distractions are not just minor inconveniences. They are thieves, stealing your most precious resource, your time. To take back your time, you must become ruthless in eliminating distractions. This is not about being harsh or unkind. It's about being intentional and protective of your focus. It's about creating an environment that allows you to thrive rather than one that pulls you in a million different directions. The first step in eliminating distractions is to identify them. This requires a level of self-awareness and honesty that many people avoid. It's easy to blame external factors for your lack of focus, but the truth is, many distractions are self-imposed. How often do you check your phone simply out of habit, not necessity? How often do you allow yourself to get sucked into a social media rabbit hole only to emerge an hour later wondering where the time went? These behaviors are not just harmless pastimes, they are barriers to your productivity, creativity, and peace of mind. Once you've identified your distractions, the next step is to take action. This is where the concept of being ruthless comes into play. It's not enough to simply acknowledge that something is a distraction. You must actively work to remove it from your life. For some, this might mean turning off notifications on your phone or deleting social media apps altogether. For others, it might mean setting strict boundaries around work hours or creating a designated workspace free from interruption. The key is to be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait for distractions to find you. Take steps to eliminate them before they have a chance to take hold. One of the most powerful tools for eliminating distractions is the practice of single tasking. In a culture that glorifies multitasking, this might seem counterintuitive, but the reality is, multitasking is a myth. When you try to do multiple things at once, you're not actually accomplishing more, you're just dividing your attention and reducing the quality of your work. Single tasking, on the other hand, allows you to focus all of your energy on one task at a time, leading to greater efficiency and better results. This might mean setting aside specific blocks of time for specific activities or using techniques like the Pomodoro method to maintain focus. Whatever approach you choose, the goal is the same: to give your full attention to the task at hand without allowing distractions to pull you away. Another important aspect of eliminating distractions is learning to say no. This can be one of the most challenging skills to develop, especially if you're someone who likes to please others or avoid conflict. But the truth is, every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something that does. This is not about being selfish or unkind. It's about being honest and respectful, both to yourself and to others. When you say no to distractions, you're saying yes to your goals, your values, and your time. Creating a distraction-free environment also requires you to take control of your technology. In many ways, technology is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it has the power to connect us, inform us, and empower us. On the other hand, it has the power to distract us, overwhelm us, and consume us. The key is to use technology intentionally rather than allowing it to use you. This might mean setting boundaries around when and how you use your devices, or using tools like website blockers to limit access to distracting sites. It might also mean reevaluating your relationship with social media and asking yourself whether it's adding value to your life or simply draining your time and energy. In addition to external distractions, it's also important to address internal distractions. These are the thoughts, worries, and emotions that pull your focus away from the present moment. Internal distractions can be just as disruptive as external ones, if not more so. They might take the form of anxiety about the future, regret about the past, or even just a wandering mind. The key to managing internal distractions is to cultivate mindfulness. This means learning to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment and gently guiding your attention back to the present moment when it wanders. Practices like meditation, deep breathing, and journaling can be incredibly helpful in developing this skill. Another powerful strategy for eliminating distractions is to create a clear and compelling vision for your life. When you have a strong sense of purpose and direction, it becomes much easier to stay focused on what truly matters. Distractions lose their power when you're deeply engaged in work that aligns with your values and goals. This is why it's so important to take the time to clarify your priorities and set meaningful objectives. When you know what you're working toward, it becomes easier to say no to distractions and stay on track. It's also important to recognize that eliminating distractions is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Distractions will always exist and new ones will inevitably arise. The key is to remain vigilant and proactive in managing them. This might mean regularly reviewing your habits and routines to identify areas where distractions are creeping in. It might also mean seeking out accountability and support from others, whether that's a mentor, a coach, or a trusted friend. The goal is not to create a perfect distraction-free life. That's impossible. The goal is to create an environment that supports your focus and allows you to make the most of your time. Finally, it's important to remember that eliminating distractions is not just about increasing productivity, it's about creating space for what truly matters. When you remove the noise and clutter from your life, you create room for deeper connections, greater creativity, and more meaningful experiences. You give yourself the gift of presence, the ability to fully engage with the people and activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. In the end, being ruthless in eliminating distractions is an act of self-respect. It's a way of honoring your time, your energy, and your potential. It's a way of saying, I value myself enough to create the conditions for my success. And while it may require effort and discipline, the rewards are well worth it. When you eliminate distractions, you reclaim your focus, your clarity, and your power. You take back your time and with it your life. Mastering the art of presence is one of the most transformative skills you can develop in your life. It's about learning to fully inhabit the moment, to be completely engaged with whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, and wherever you are. In a world that constantly pulls us in multiple directions, presence is a rare and precious gift, not just to others, but to yourself. When you are present, you are able to experience life more deeply, connect more authentically, and perform at your highest level. But achieving this state of presence is not always easy. It requires intention, practice, and a willingness to let go of the distractions and preoccupations that so often pull us away from the here and now. The first step in mastering presence is to recognize how often we are not present. Think about the last time you were in a conversation with someone, but your mind was elsewhere. Maybe you were thinking about what you needed to do next, or replaying a past event, or worrying about the future. Even though you were physically there, you weren't truly present. This is a common experience for most people, but it comes at a cost. When we're not present, we miss out on the richness of life. We miss the subtle cues in a conversation, the beauty of our surroundings, and the opportunity to fully engage with the people and activities that matter most. To cultivate presence, you must start by slowing down. In our fast-paced, hyper-connected world, it's easy to fall into the trap of rushing from one thing to the next. But when you're constantly in a hurry, it's almost impossible to be present. Slowing down doesn't mean you have to move at a snail's pace. It simply means being more mindful of how you're spending your time and energy. It means taking a few deep breaths before starting a new task, or pausing to appreciate the moment before moving on to the next thing. When you slow down, you create space for presence to emerge. Another key aspect of presence is learning to focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is often seen as a badge of honor, but the truth is it's a barrier to presence. When you try to do multiple things at once, your attention becomes fragmented and you're unable to fully engage with any of them. Single tasking, on the other hand, allows you to give your full attention to the task at hand. Whether you're working on a project, having a conversation, or simply enjoying a meal, try to focus all of your energy on that one activity. You'll find that not only do you perform better, but you also enjoy the experience more. Presence also requires you to let go of the past and the future. This doesn't mean you should ignore your responsibilities or stop planning for the future, but it does mean recognizing that the only moment you truly have control over is the present one. The past is gone and the future is uncertain. When you dwell on the past, you risk getting stuck in regret or resentment. When you obsess over the future, you risk becoming anxious or overwhelmed. But when you focus on the present, you free yourself from these burdens and open yourself up to the possibilities of the moment. One of the most powerful tools for cultivating presence is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they arise, and then letting them go without getting caught up in them. Mindfulness can be practiced in many ways, from formal meditation to simple everyday activities like eating, walking, or even washing the dishes. The key is to bring your full attention to whatever you're doing and to notice when your mind starts to wander. When you catch yourself drifting, gently guide your attention back to the present moment. Over time, this practice will help you become more aware of your thoughts and more skilled at staying present. Another important aspect of presence is learning to listen deeply. In our conversations, we often listen with the intent to respond rather than to understand. We're so focused on what we're going to say next that we don't fully hear what the other person is saying. Deep listening, on the other hand, is about being fully present with the other person. It's about giving them your undivided attention and truly seeking to understand their perspective. When you listen deeply, you not only strengthen your relationships, but you also gain valuable insights and perspectives that you might otherwise miss. Presence also involves being attuned to your body. Our bodies are incredibly wise, and they often give us signals about how we're feeling and what we need. But in our busy lives, it's easy to ignore these signals or push through them. When you're present, you're more likely to notice these cues and respond to them in a healthy way. This might mean taking a break when you're feeling tired, or tuning into your breath when you're feeling stressed. By staying connected to your body, you can better care for yourself and maintain your energy and focus. Another way to cultivate presence is to create rituals that anchor you in the moment. These rituals can be simple, everyday activities that you do with intention and awareness. For example, you might start your day with a few minutes of quiet reflection, or take a few moments to savor your morning coffee. You might end your day by writing in a gratitude journal or taking a few deep breaths before bed. These rituals serve as reminders to slow down and be present. Even in the midst of a busy day, presence also requires you to let go of perfectionism. When you're constantly striving for perfection, it's easy to get caught up in what's wrong or what's missing rather than appreciating what's already here. But presence is about accepting the moment as it is, without judgment or criticism. It's about finding beauty and meaning in the imperfect, messy reality of life. When you let go of the need to control or perfect everything, you open yourself up to the richness of the present moment. Finally, presence is about embracing the power of now. The present moment is the only place where life truly happens. It's where you can experience joy, connection, and fulfillment. It's where you can take action, make decisions, and create change. When you're fully present, you're able to tap into your creativity, intuition, and inner wisdom. You're able to respond to challenges with clarity and grace, and to savor the simple pleasures of life. Mastering the art of presence is not something that happens overnight. It's a skill that requires practice, patience, and persistence. But the rewards are immense. When you're present, you're able to live more fully, love more deeply, and contribute more meaningfully. You're able to take back your time and make the most of every moment. So start today. Focus and bring your full attention to the here and now. The present moment is waiting for you. Don't let it pass you by. Becoming the CEO of your life means taking full responsibility for your time, decisions, and direction. It's about stepping into a leadership role for yourself where you no longer allow external circumstances or other people's agendas to dictate how you live. As the CEO, you set the vision, define the priorities, and make the tough calls. This requires clarity about what you want, courage to say no to what doesn't align with your goals, and discipline to stay focused on what truly matters. It's about owning your power, embracing accountability, and designing a life that reflects your values and aspirations. Living with intention rather than on autopilot is the key to creating a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. Too often we go through our days reacting to whatever comes our way without a clear sense of purpose or direction. We let habits, routines, and external demands dictate our actions rather than making conscious choices about how we want to spend our time and energy. But when you live with intention, you take control of your life. You become the author of your story rather than a passive character in someone else's narrative. Living intentionally starts with clarity. You need to know what you want, what you value, and what kind of life you want to create. This requires deep self-reflection and honesty. It's about asking yourself the hard questions. What truly matters to me? What am I passionate about? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? When you have a clear vision for your life, it becomes much easier to make decisions that align with your goals and values. You can start to prioritize the things that bring you joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose, and let go of the things that don't. Once you have clarity, the next step is to set intentional goals. These are not just vague aspirations or wishful thinking. They are specific, actionable, and meaningful objectives that move you closer to your vision. Intentional goals give you a sense of direction and focus. They help you stay on track, even when life gets busy or chaotic. But setting goals is not enough. You also need to take consistent action toward them. This requires discipline, commitment, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, and doing the work that needs to be done. Living intentionally also means being mindful of how you spend your time. Time is your most valuable resource, and how you use it determines the quality of your life. When you live on autopilot, it's easy to waste time on things that don't matter, mindless scrolling, unnecessary meetings, or activities that drain your energy. But when you live with intention, you become more selective about how you spend your time. You start to ask yourself, is this activity aligned with my goals? Is this how I want to be spending my time? Is this bringing me closer to the life I want to create? By being intentional with your time, you can focus on what truly matters and let go of the rest. Another important aspect of living intentionally is cultivating mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and actions and making conscious choices about how you want to respond to the world around you. When you're mindful, you're able to break free from automatic habitual behaviors and make decisions that align with your values and goals. Mindfulness also helps you appreciate the small, everyday moments that make life rich and meaningful. It allows you to savor the present rather than constantly chasing the future or dwelling on the past. Living with intention also requires you to take responsibility for your life. This means owning your choices, your actions, and your outcomes. It's about recognizing that you have the power to shape your reality, even when circumstances are beyond your control. When you take responsibility, you stop blaming others or making excuses, and instead focus on what you can do to create the life you want. This mindset empowers you to take action, overcome challenges, and keep moving forward no matter what obstacles you face. Finally, living intentionally is about creating a life that feels authentic and true to who you are. It's about aligning your actions with your values, passions, and purpose. It's about making choices that reflect your deepest desires and aspirations rather than following someone else's script. When you live with intention, you create a life that feels rich, meaningful, and uniquely yours. You take back your time, your energy, and your power, and use them to create a life that truly matters. Embrace the power of small, consistent actions. Success and fulfillment are not the result of grand, sweeping gestures, but the accumulation of small, consistent actions taken over time. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that change has to be dramatic or instantaneous, but the truth is, real transformation happens gradually. When you focus on making small, intentional choices every day, you create momentum that compounds over time. Whether it's dedicating 15 minutes a day to learning a new skill, taking a short walk to clear your mind, or expressing gratitude daily, these seemingly minor actions add up to significant results. Consistency is the secret ingredient that turns ordinary efforts into extraordinary outcomes. The power of small actions lies in their simplicity and sustainability. Big, ambitious goals can feel overwhelming, but breaking them down into manageable steps makes them achievable. For example, if you want to write a book, committing to writing just 200 words a day feels far more doable than trying to write an entire chapter in one sitting. Over time, those daily 200 words turn into pages, chapters, and eventually a completed manuscript. The same principle applies to fitness, relationships, career growth, or any area of life. Small, consistent actions build habits, and habits shape your destiny. Another benefit of focusing on small actions is that they reduce resistance. When a task feels too big or daunting, it's easy to procrastinate or avoid it altogether. But when you commit to just a few minutes of effort, you're more likely to get started. And once you start, you often find that you're willing to keep going. This is the power of the just start mentality. By taking the first small step, you create a ripple effect that leads to progress and momentum. Consistency also builds confidence. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you prove to yourself that you're capable of taking action. This builds self-trust and reinforces your belief in your ability to achieve your goals. Over time, this confidence grows, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges and take bolder steps. The key to harnessing the power of small, consistent actions is to focus on progress, not perfection. It's not about doing everything perfectly or achieving massive results overnight. It's about showing up every day, even when it's hard, and doing the work. It's about trusting the process and understanding that every small step you take is moving you closer to your goals. In a world that often glorifies instant gratification and quick fixes, embracing the power of small, consistent actions is a radical act of patience and perseverance. It's a reminder that true success is not about speed, but about steady, deliberate effort. When you commit to taking small steps every day, you create a life of purpose, progress, and lasting impact. One of the most powerful examples of the power of small, consistent actions is the concept of compound interest. Just as money grows exponentially over time when invested wisely, the same principle applies to your efforts. When you consistently invest small amounts of time and energy into a goal, the results compound. For instance, reading just 10 pages of a book every day might seem insignificant, but over a year, that adds up to 3,650 pages, equivalent to dozens of books. Similarly, saving a small amount of money each month can grow into a substantial nest egg over time. The key is to stay consistent and trust the process. Another important aspect of small, consistent actions is that they help you build momentum. Momentum is a powerful force that makes it easier to keep going once you've started. When you take small steps every day, you create a sense of forward motion that propels you toward your goals. This momentum can help you overcome obstacles and stay motivated, even when the journey gets tough. Small actions also allow you to experiment and adapt. When we're working on a big goal, it's easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis, trying to plan every detail before taking action. But when you focus on small steps, you can start right away and adjust as you go. This approach allows you to learn from your mistakes, refine your strategy, and make progress without getting bogged down by perfectionism. Consistency also helps you build resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and there will be times when you feel like giving up, but when you've developed the habit of taking small, consistent actions, you're more likely to keep going, even when things get tough. This resilience is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up at the first sign of difficulty. Another benefit of small, consistent actions is that they help you stay focused on the present moment. When you're working on a big goal, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the enormity of the task. But when you break it down into small steps, you can focus on what you need to do today rather than worrying about the future. This focus on the present moment helps you stay grounded and reduces stress and anxiety. Small actions also help you build discipline. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. When you commit to taking small steps every day, you're strengthening your ability to follow through on your commitments. Over time, this discipline becomes a part of who you are, making it easier to achieve your goals and create the life you want. Finally, small, consistent actions help you create a sense of accomplishment. When you take small steps every day, you're constantly making progress, even if it's just a little bit at a time. This sense of progress is incredibly motivating and helps you stay committed to your goals. It's a reminder that you're moving forward, even when the results aren't immediately visible. In conclusion, the power of small, consistent actions cannot be overstated. Whether you're working toward a personal goal, building a career, or improving your relationships, the key to success is to focus on small, intentional steps taken consistently over time. By embracing this approach, you can create momentum, build confidence, and achieve lasting results. Remember, it's not about how fast you go or how big your actions are. It's about showing up every day and doing the work. When you commit to taking small steps, you create a life of purpose, progress, and fulfillment.